All right, thank you one more time. We're still saying Happy Democracy Day to you out there. Now, it was on this day, exactly 1993, that's on the 12th day of June 1993, that Nigeria as a nation went to the polls. And that's one election that people will never forget in a hurry. Of course, when we talk about the history of democracy in Nigeria, we can never but always talk about June 12th. So good to know that a winner actually, emerged from that election, but somehow the military junta, the military head of state that we had then had to annul that election. And it took several decades for General Badamasi Ibrahim Babangida had to own up that he had to annul that election for peace to reign, because if he had accepted, if he had allowed MKO to be the president, maybe there would have been a coup. That's one story that he said. And of course, for a lot of persons, arguments came up that June 12th should be recognized as Democracy Day. Before this time, it was May 29th. And good to know that 2018, the present administration, that's Buhari's administration, had to direct that June 12th of every year will be celebrated in Nigeria as Democracy Day. So we are commemorating democracy in our country, remembering democracy, and above it all, commemorating all that happened on this day, June 12, 1993, and also remembering the main character in that election. I'm talking about MKO Abiola. Well, to look at Nigeria's democracy today and challenges and focus, so we are so privileged to have Neville Obahedo. He's a lecturer with the Department of Political Science, University of Benin. So you're welcome to this program.
Good morning, viewers at home. Thank you for having me this great Sunday, June 12, 2022, which coincides with my own birthday and that of my twin sister.
Okay, so we say happy birthday to you and your twin sister.
Thank you.
And also we are privileged to have Barrister Alakwe Mbanefo, a legal luminary, and also somebody that knows his onions when it comes to political issues in the country. So you're welcome to this program.
Good morning.
You're welcome, gentlemen. All right, so gentlemen, as we go down memory lane, the very first question that we attempted to always ask here is, let's get our insights first and foremost on this whole Democracy Day issue, how it has really impacted on our democracy in Nigeria. I'll start with Nevi Obahedo.
When we talk about democracy, we should look at it from its etymological origin, how democracy came into existence, that different countries today talk of democracy, including Nigeria. Democracy is a word that was derived from the Greek language. Demos, that is the people. Kratos, or crazy, that is the theory of a system of the people governing themselves. That's how democracy came into existence. And in those days, the Greek people from Athens, from Megara, from Salamis, from Corinth, from all the city-states that make up the old Greek city system, political system, they were gathering in Athens to elect their leaders. But as the population increases, it will not be possible again for people to gather in a place to elect their leader. So the representative kind of democracy now came into existence. That is what different countries are now adopting, including Nigeria. Even though we have what we call liberal democracy, we have a communist democracy, and all kinds of homegrown democracy that countries that are dominant in international policy try to export to other parts of the world. And right now in Nigeria here, we practice what we call liberal democracy. And anywhere you see liberal democracy, you are supposed to see competition. You are supposed to see freedom of speech. You are supposed to see rule of law. You are supposed to see respect for human rights and respect for freedom of association and freedom of choice. And in that situation, people are expected to form associations and be registered political parties and then compete for election. Before competing for election with other political parties, each political party is supposed to have its own internal democracy, where you have primaries, electing congresses, conventions, where leaders, those that control the party, are elected. But the question about Nigeria here is whether the tenets of liberal democracy, as we have just enumerated, whether they are being practiced in Nigeria. And because of the fact that the tenets of democracy are not being practiced in Nigeria to the satisfaction of many, we discovered that the Electoral Act has been subjected to various forms of reform, amendment, and so on. So the main problem right now with Nigeria democracy, as we look at democracy today on June 12th, is the fact that a major aspect of democracy is missing. What is that aspect of democracy? Allowing the people, allowing members of a political party in their various political parties to determine who become their representative. And this was why the other day the National Assembly, they amended the law to say that because they themselves are they are participant observers, they know where issues of how candidates of political parties are thrown up, where it pitches. They decided that there should be an amendment to the Electoral Act where there will be a general template for political parties to elect their leaders and to elect their candidates. And that was why they were talking about a general blanket direct primaries, where people will elect.
Okay, let me pause you. I'll bring Mbanefo into the show quickly. Now, Barrister, we are looking at this day, June 12. We are looking at the way it has impacted into Nigeria's democracy. Whether we like it or not, to an extent, we have a democratic governance in place. So June 12 from 2018 that it was declared June 12. So how has it impacted in what we are celebrating today?
Yes, that is a very interesting question. As a matter of fact, when we talk about June 12 election, if you go down memory lane, we talk about what really transpired in that election and why is it significant to the country's democratic development, and why the current administration found it necessary to make a pronouncement on it, making every June 12 a public holidays, and whether it has actually impacted on us as a people. What are the lessons learned so far, and what are the questions yet unanswered? If you ask me, I would say that June 12 actually, whether we like it or not, has a very great significance in Nigeria's democratic development. One, that a government, no matter how powerful, a government, no matter how rigid, cannot take the wills of the people for granted. And one lesson we learned from that election was that a man was elected by the people, and the government in power refused to make a pronouncement on that election. The then INEC was stopped by the government of that time, or the government of Ibrahim Babangida, not to make a pronouncement on that election, which the people felt was one of the freest elections in the history of Nigeria. The June 12 election was a watershed in the country's political development, because probably that was the first time Nigerians willingly accepted their candidate, not minding his ethnic group, not minding his tribe, not minding where he came from. They felt that that was the right candidate for the job.
Okay, I'm going to pause you there, Mbanefo Alakwe, Barrister Mbanefo Alakwe, so that we quickly take an update, and we're going to be right back. Don't forget the program is this morning on ITV, and it's a special day. We're looking at June 12 in focus, the challenges and the prospects that we've had so far.
Nigeria for quite a while now, and what lessons we ought to learn from that is that we look up to a situation where we expect that every election should be free and fair, and that INEC as an unbiased umpire should always expect to do the needful by ensuring that the winner is announced the winner. we also expect that a government in power should also respect the people's mandate and ensure that INEC is given all the necessary tools to work. And each time election takes place, that we expect that the winner should be announced. In a country like Nigeria, where you have, which is a multi-ethnic and multi-tribal country, there is always the feelings that some people will have that a particular ethnic group, all ethnic groups should be seen to have equal rights.
And equal opportunities.
And equal opportunities. And it can be set aside, it can be brushed aside. And so what is good for one ethnic group is also good for another ethnic group. And of course, that particular juneteenth election, you know, it gave birth to a system where, because the government there wanted to make peace, and it's okay, let us have candidates from same ethnic group that was shortchanged. And for the first time in the history of Nigeria, we had Olufalaye then and Olusegun Obasanjo coming from the same ethnic group that ran for that election, which brought Obasanjo in as a then elected president of that particular government. Obasanjo ruled for 8 years and handed over to Yar'Adua.
Yeah.
And Yar'Adua at the couldn't finish due to death.
Health.
Then the vice president took over.
Yeah.
The then Goodluck Jonathan took over, and thereafter handed over to another administration, which is the current administration right now.
Yeah.
I believe that rule of law has prevailed from that time till now, as far as the issue of governance is concerned, and as far as the issue of the democracy is concerned.
Okay. Now,
what transpires between now and the next election is what we cannot predict now. If this government can afford to sustain the tempo and to ensure that we keep the same democratic nets ongoing, so because the easy passage of power from one government to another government in a democratic setup is what we look up to.
Okay. Now, Neville Obakedo, the question on democratic democratic question, that's what some analysts will call it now, the democratic question in the country. Now, the declaration of the president, June 6 in 2018, then 6 days later, we had the very first June 12. That was the first celebration. As a matter of fact, this is the 4th time we're celebrating June 12 as Democracy Day. Now, I remember that after that declaration day, that a posthumous award was given to the late MKO Abiola. And of course, the president, on behalf of the nation, rendered an apology to the son and also to the family of MKO Abiola. But for most people, that seems not to have answered the democratic question in the country. Is that enough, or there are things that we need to do as a nation so that the issue of democracy can really be, the democratic question can really be answered in governance in Nigeria?
When you say the democracy question, you are referring to a cluster of questions around the concept of democracy and the applicability of democracy. I will take them one after the other if there's time for me to do so. Nigeria is a multi-ethnic and a multi-religious environment. And on the basis of political power configuration at independence and the way the military decided to intervene in Nigeria policies, you will discover that leadership of Nigeria in a democracy and in the military government was from the northern part of the country. And the annulment of June 12 that was alluded to just now by my co-discussant, if you trace the intricacies that were involved and the intrigues, they were all pointed to the fact that power should remain in the north, that power should not come to the south. And it was on the basis of that glaring manipulation of the process that led to the most freest and fairest election in the history of Nigeria, where nobody died, that made Nigerians, especially from the southern part of the country, to wake up to say no, power must shift. No person, no group, no region, no part of the country have the power to dominate the politics of this country till eternity. And Nigerians were afraid that there was going to be another civil war. And then, when the pressure, both locally and internationally, was on military president Ibrahim Babangida, he hurriedly left and arranged an interim government that brought later Abacha came. Now, trying to answer the democratic question under Abacha's government, even though he decided to coin a maxim of who the car fits, and he was referring to Suharto of Indonesia, referring to Bhutto of Pakistan, and all kinds of leaders that he said the car fits, that he was putting himself into those positions. Now he was not able to actualize his political dream. But an attempt to answer the democratic question was found in the Constitution Drafting Committee report that was submitted to General Abacha, which says that there shall be 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, which we have today. The north is divided into 3: northwest, north central, and northeast. South divided into southwest, south-south, and southeast. With the mind that power will now be rotating between the north and south on the basis of these geopolitical zones. That was how it was drafted. And Abacha, when he was addressing the nation, he said that the reason why he came up with this idea of 6 geopolitical zones is for the quest and the struggle for domination at the national level, office of president, to be reduced, so that there can be a form of rotational presidency. In part of that draft, it was stated that if a president comes from the north, there shall be vice president
from the south,
premier from various geopolitical zones, so that there will be a sense of belonging, and Nigeria will now work for national unity instead of working for division as a result of the power of the office of the president. But when Abacha died, it was General Abdulsalam Abubakar who now promulgated that draft constitution into law, the 1999 constitution as amended that we have today. And the people who examined that constitution draft, or the drafted constitution, now have to remove the issue of rotational presidency and the vice presidential or premiership position for the other geopolitical zones. They removed them. And that is why today we are still having the problem of that democratic question of how power should rotate between north and south. And you see much of Nigeria resources that have been gotten from political office positions that have been occupied by politically exposed persons who are in the electoral and the political processes of Nigeria. They keep on wasting resources trying to move around the country in the name of wanting to be president. Okay. That problem of June 12th has not been addressed. That democracy problem of power shift between north and south has not been addressed. PDP tried to address it, but it was the death of President Yaradua that now led to the alteration. How did it lead to the alteration? When Yaradua died, there was a meeting of PDP governors and political top-notchers. A
gentleman agreement, you may want to call it.
They even addressed the press that Namadi Sambo and President Jonathan shall complete the tenure of Yaradua, and they shall do one tenure, so that the zoning arrangement that they had before can continue.
Okay.
But unfortunately, after Jonathan and Namadi Sambo completed the tenure, and they did one other tenure, they tried to disregard that agreement. That was how Ibrahim Shekarau, former governor of Kano State, came to this studio in 2020 when Sonny Dukokoso asked him a question about why PDP lost election in 2015 to Muhammadu Buhari. Okay. He said it was the North that voted against the
all right, because of the time here today, the time is so tight here. Let me just come to Mbaden for just a few minutes now so that we'll wrap it up and we'll go to other segments of this topic. Now, what's the challenges in our democracy? They are so enormous, just like what he's trying to enumerate. Now, what is the way forward? Let's start from there.
Yes, the way forward is justice, equity, and fairness. Justice, equity, and fairness. If the government in power has abandoned these 3 aspects, then there's a problem. And again, the way forward, if you ask me again, is that the Constitution of Nigeria, the 1999 Constitution as amended, actually have not addressed our problems. Like my friend was just saying right now, the issue of referendum, you know, is not contained therein in the 1999 Constitution as amended. We need the People's Constitution. The preamble of 1999 Constitution says, we the people of Nigeria hereby make this constitution for ourselves. There was never a time we the people of Nigeria made any constitution.
But
we have to get an all-embracing constitution that will have each ethnic group's interest and each tribe's very much explained. And again, if a referendum was captured in the constitution, wherein a particular group, with any time they decide to walk away, they can walk away peacefully. And then if Nigeria must be one country, then any government in the power should ensure that there is equity, there is fairness, there is justice to its citizens. But the situation whereby these things are lacking, it therefore means that the agitation for self-determination and all this will arise because of injustice done. And so INEC, as it were, must be an unbiased umpire, must be truly independent, so that a government in power cannot interfere on the affairs of INEC. The situation whereby who pays the piper dictates the tune, it therefore means that INEC can be independent. It therefore means that any government in power will always influence INEC. And so we need a better constitution that can give all those powers to INEC and then ensure that every individual in this country has equal right, and not any other group or persons seeing themselves as being more superior to the other group. And so if actually we want to move forward, we must jettison the 1999 Constitution and come up with a constitution that is made by we the people and that is all-embracing. Outside that, there's nothing wrong in a situation whereby a groups will decide to say, okay, this marriage is an unholy alliance and we don't intend to continue with this marriage.
Okay. All right.
So on the situation whereby everything, all things are equal, that a marriage can continue. But the situation whereby a marriage has broken down irretrievably, there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay. All right. So I also very big thank you to Neville Bakedo and Barrister Alakwe Mbane for this first segment of this show. Now we're going to let them go so that we bring other sets of guests here. I told you that it's a special day, special democracy day, and we are looking at Nigeria's democracy challenges and some prospects, most especially as the 2023 presidential election is approaching. A very big thank you to you, gentlemen, for finding time to come on the show. All right, so the program is still this morning on ITV. Please stay tuned.